Hi, my name is Carlton Parker, and I'm going to share with you a technique that I use to create characters from simple geometric shapes. As a media arts and animation student, quite often uh, required to create a different character from one assignment to the next, or from one course to the next. And a way to keep characters new and fresh and not fall into that sameness that we tend to fall into when we create characters sometimes. I have this technique that I use that works for me, creating characters from geometric shapes and combining different shapes to basically do a couple of things. One, it takes the form out of context, and it also creates an interesting contour and sets a springboard for a interesting silhouette for a character. So we're going to start by creating some shapes here. I'm going to do a square, triangle, circle, and rectangle. Now keep in mind these are thumbnail sketches, so they're not going to be too refined. Basically the idea is to get just enough information down to photograph or scan them and then import them into an application like Photoshop or Paintbox Pro, or whichever one you may use, whichever digital means you use to make refinements. So now that we got these basic shapes down, we're going to go back and add shapes to it, and basically make the contour a little bit more complex. When we do so, so you see I've stayed pretty loose with these, and we're working in charcoal for the sake of demonstration purposes, but also because of the properties of charcoal. It allows me to soften edges and keep that looseness, because don't want things to happen too quickly because you might miss something. So I'll go back and start bringing some clarity to these forms, fleshing them out a bit. So you can see at this point, these shapes are beginning to resemble something recognizable, figuratively. So I take my kneaded eraser at this point, and I remove some of the lines that I don't need, just to kind of make the forms even more recognizable. So the idea here basically is to get to a place where you can actually get the creative energy flowing again. And the ideas begin to start coming out. It's a means of brainstorming, basically. So, should continue on. Another thing that I keep in mind is I try not to limit myself to the scale and keeping them all in the same scale, because when I finish the drawing or get it as far as I need it to be, I'm going to import it into Photoshop, where there I can scale it down to, or scale it up to a preferred size if the one that I have here is not working. You know, for instance, the scale of this character and the scale of that character are very different, but I can control that digitally. Right now, I'm just trying to get the idea out and onto the page. So you can see how some of these shapes are beginning to start to appear more like characters. And from this point, you know, I can take it into a digital application and make further refinements. But this gives me something to build upon. This gives me something to work with. Um, so there. So that's how I build characters from geometric shapes, combining them and carving them out, fleshing them out into solid forms. It's real important for any student in the game art or media arts program to be able to create a variety of different characters, because different projects that we'll work on in our respective careers will dictate that we generate a lot of characters, particularly in the game art industry, particularly in the movie industry, you know, in the media arts industry. Games have very large numbers of different characters, so they need a lot of characters to choose from. So it's good to be able to generate characters without you know, just by combining these shapes. So Thank you again.